Please, Dr. Abdelelah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I don't know if Abdurrahman, you can hear me. You can upload your slides. You can share your slides. So you know, I don't stand in front of you today as a perfect. I don't stand in front of you today as a co-founder or a CEO of a novel, genomics or a genomics company. I stand for you as a practicing clinician, as someone who cares about improving the healthcare system in the kingdom, and basically from that perspective, we had the idea of establishing novel genomics. Let's just put that in perspectives in terms of the misperception maybe we clinicians have about genetic diseases, because at least that's what I used to have. We think that it's the rare diseases. So we talk about in Saudi about 1 in 1,000 deliveries has genetic disease. So mashallah, we're very active in the kingdom, 500,000 deliveries a year. So that's 500 new genetic diseases a year. But that's what's called the monogenic diseases, But then things that are actually having a big impact on not just this healthcare system, but healthcare systems in general is the polygenic diseases, the things that you guys are dealing with, diabetes and high cholesterol and others. And these are actually not purely just environmental. So when you think about it from that perspective, it becomes very different. And we heard through our practice precision medicine, personalized medicine, but it's like an elusive destination. That what is precision medicine and how to practice it. Unfortunately, I have to say that modern medicine in general is applying one size fits all, and the whole idea is how can you move from one size fits all into personalized medicine, and this is where you add the genomics, the genetic makeup of the individual, so you can actually customize treatment and so on and so forth. So can I have the next slide, please? Oh, that's actually I don't need the next slide. That's the only slide I'm going to talk about. But my colleague, Dr. Abdurrahman Al-Asiri, who is the bioinformatics lead in novel genomics, and who's an expert in cardiovascular genomics, is going to talk to you about what is cardiovascular genomics and why it is important to your day-to-day practice. As I mentioned, our vision in novel genomics is basically to be globally recognized, locally trusted biotech company, and the point of the why of novel genomics, why it was started, is to help localize this very important field in the kingdom. Even though that the genetic diseases prevalence is very high in this country and in this region, the supply side is very weak. We still have a lot of the genetic testing gets sent outside, and that has a lot of logistical, financial, and national security implications. So I argue we need 20 organizations like my organizations to really have a big boost on pushing precision medicine forward. I argue that if we don't do a good job of simplifying genomics for the public and for practicing clinicians, we're just going to continue to practice the one-size-fits-all medicine, which I think has its own limitations. So with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Abdurrahman to just give you a brief about what cardiogenomics is and the way forward.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you, Dr. Abdelelah. Briefly, I'll introduce myself as Dr. Abdelelah. I am the bioinformatics lead in Novo Genomics. Also, I work on the research of population genomics on cardiovascular disease in UMC Utrecht in Netherlands. So at the beginning, I would like to talk about the cardiogenomics as a revolution in healthcare. So most of you know that cardiogenomics is the field of genetics that focus on the study of genetic factors associated with the cardiovascular diseases. And it involves the analysis of these genetic variations and mutations that contribute to the development and progression of cardiovascular diseases, such as the coronary artery diseases, heart failure, and arrhythmias. So the importance of cardiogenomics in healthcare could be one, early detection and prevention of cardiovascular disease; two, the personalized treatment and management of patients; and identification of novel drug target for cardiovascular disease. Here I'll talk about the role of genomics in cardiovascular diseases. First one is that cardiovascular diseases are a complex and multifactorial diseases that significant with a significant genetic component, and also these genetic factors can influence the development and progression of a cardiovascular diseases, including risk factors such as hypertension, dyslipidemia, and obesity. The advances in genomic technology, such as next-generation sequencing that encode the whole genome of a human, could enable the identification of genetics variation that are associated with the cardiovascular through a study called the genome-wide association study. So these genetic factors play a crucial role in the development and the progression of cardiovascular diseases, where also we can identify as well the inherited cardiovascular conditions such as familial hypercholesterolemia and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So here I'll talk about the clinical genomic diagnostics for cardiovascular diseases. The clinical genomic diagnostic involve the use of genetic testing and analysis to identify variants that may increase a patient's risk of developing cardiovascular diseases or helping guiding the treatment decision. So here is some types of the genetic tested used in clinical genomic diagnostic for cardiovascular diseases. The genetic testing for inherited cardiovascular conditions. Excuse me. And the pharmacogenomic testing, the genetic risk assessment, and genetic profiling. So exploring the genomics of cardiovascular disease in Saudi Arabia, one of the main things that could be a limitation that we don't have a large cohort study that include the genomics of cardiovascular diseases that we could use it to associate the genetic factors with the cardiovascular output, clinical output and traits. So understanding our population genetic factors will increase the ability to identify the polygenic risk scores for our populations, as well as identifying a novel regions in the genomics could be specifically associated to our population. Second thing is improve the risk assessment, and we're gonna have the tailored treatment approaches and advancing precision medicine, where we could, based on the genetic or the patient's genetic makeup, have a treatment direction based on his or her genetics. So here one of the things that lead me to work on the cardiovascular genomics is as a bioinformatician dealing with big data and to find the highly significant associated factors to cardiovascular traits. Is that in 2017 there was a study that shows there are many significant genes that associated with the metabolites. And from there, I started my project to work on the UK Biobank, where they have around 500,000 genome, 500,000 participants with their genome and their lipidomic. So I did the lipidomics profiling of metabolomic data in that biobank, and actually developed also a bioinformatics pipeline to identify the loss of function genes. And loss of function genes here means the genes that naturally knocked out in a human and that differ from population to population. And from there, I associated these genes to the lipids and lipoprotein, and where I found around 34 genes that associated with the subclasses of lipoproteins based on their sizes, based on their crossover with their lipids. And out of these 34, there are around 6 novel genes that we are going to take it next to the translational laboratory to test it. So in Novo Genomics, we have our potential partner, Lenovo and Nanopore, MGI, Okadoc, and MCAN. The management team in Novo Genomics include Dr. Abdelelah, Dr. Budur, Dr. Men, and me. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, it's my pleasure, and you can contact us at any time. I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Thank you very much, Abdurrahman. Basically, again, recently that it was discovered that we have up to 30,000 genes in our body, and that is what's called the whole exome. You know, so they're basically the protein coding regions, and basically there is also the introns, or the 98% of the DNA, which, if you want to do a whole genome sequencing, all these areas within our genome actually have association one way or another with health and wellness. So rather than kind of thinking about it just from treating diseases, but also how can you promote health and wellness? And I think this is where we want to kind of push things forward. This is where, you know, places like NEOM are actually very much keen on kind of pushing things forward. So for us, you know, as I mentioned, the polygenic risk score, unfortunately, it is still something that cannot be done here because we don't have kind of a population genomics for those databases. But maybe this is also an opportunity for research projects in the future to really help with precision medicine and cardiology. So with that, again, I thank you for your time, and we're available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdelelah and Dr. Abdurrahman, for that excellent presentation. And we as clinicians, probably we don't understand a lot about genetics. I have been starting to read about it and understand more about loss of function and gain of function, and especially on the lipid profile. We have PCSK9 genetic mutations where it's a gain of function. We have LDL receptor genetics where there is a loss of function, and where to test and how to test it and how to target it to the Saudi population. We are trying to figure this out with the experts like you. And one of the projects that we were working with Dr. Abdelelah now and the Ministry of Health is identifying all the patients that with an LDL cholesterol above 5 or 4.9 and flagging them and then performing the genetic tests on. Any questions from our audience? Dr. Shukri.
I think this is an important area, and one thing that can be done relatively quickly is something that we've already identified in our dyslipidemia guideline, and that's the implementation of widespread once in a lifetime testing for lipoprotein a. This is unfortunately not yet available in the majority of MOH hospitals. Some hospitals have the equipment, so they have within the biochemistry lab, some of the equipment can have the capability. It's just that they need the kits to be able to run the test and to calibrate it and do it. But we really urgently need to do widespread testing for that. And it's only one test in a lifetime, whether you do it in early life or any age. You can at least, but the earlier in life you do it, the earlier you can identify those that are at potentially higher risk, because you can, this is a potentially a very high risk group that you can try to identify and focus on prevention strategies rather than widen your net widely. And so this is something that I would urge MOH to try to disseminate the need to actually introduce and make available testing both in the public and the private sector.
Thank you for Dr. Shukri. I think one of the things that we could do is the patients that are flagged with abnormal LDL, we could do lipoprotein a for all of them. But I will work closely with the lab. We have a full now like a company for laboratories, and I'll work with them to make this available, this test available, especially in cardiac centers and tertiary care centers.
I think also we have an opportunity that giving the presence of some decent databases, either in the National Heart Center or in maybe the Saudi Heart, I think that's a great opportunity that we could actually look for research opportunities. I'll give you an example. In an area that we think, genetics have no things to play, the chronic kidney disease and end-stage renal disease. If you talk to nephrologists, they will tell you that there are families that have concentrated, young people with end-stage renal disease, no risk factors, all of a sudden, just end-stage renal disease. And obviously, if you look up the literature, there's actually also clear evidence of genetic components to it. So I think what would really help us in improving healthcare and really kind of focusing on health promotion and health prevention is to look at some of these databases and try to do some whole genome sequencing for these Saudi specific population which really can in collaboration also with pharma, and I think pharma is also represented here, that could potentially really lead to something positive for our population. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abdelelah. Excellent presentation. Thank you, Dr. Abdurrahman. We will move to the next session. Dr. Mohammad Alhamali will be chairing that session. Please, Dr. Mohammad.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adil. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce the next session, which is localization of manufacturing, medtech, biotech, innovation and knowledge transfer in the cardiovascular disease in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I would love to welcome to the stage Mr. George Rakenvox, Head of Novartis Gulf and Saudi Country Group. And also I would like to welcome to the stage Dr. Ilyas, CEO of Amgen. And also Mr. Imad Sudani, the Director of Strategic Partnership and Patient Solution at Medtronic. And also Engineer Basil Gahtani, CEO of Boston Scientific. So we'll start with a brief presentation with Mr. George Rakenvox from Novartis.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you very much also for the invite to Dr. Adil Dash for this Congress, and really congratulations. In general, I would like to start, and you're moving the slides? No, okay. I would like to start also similar like the vision in the kingdom. We are a very vision-oriented organization. And what is really important that we always start, it's our North Star related to our purpose. We would like to reimagine medicine to improve and extend people's life. Our vision is to become the most trusted and valued medicine company in the world. And what is really important, because it always unifies, it's about our values, where we are inspired, curious, unbossed, everything on the base of very strong integrity. And just to give you a flavor about our organization, in 2022, we had net sales of 50.5 billion, where 82% comes from our innovative portfolio and nearly 18% from our generic portfolio from Sandoz, from our division. We are investing into research and development 10 billion, which is 20% of our group net sales, and we are reaching 743 million patients, which is a big amount where we are very, very proud. Just moving also to our strategy, I think our organization focuses on 5 therapeutic areas. We are talking about cardiovascular, immunology, neuroscience, solid tumors, as well as also hematology. And we are investing in different kinds of platforms. One is small little molecules, then also biologics, but the new one is RNA, radioligand, as well as also gene and cell therapy, where we are one of the biggest investors in these new platforms to build it up also for the future. Well, what we really would like to drive as our priorities is to accelerate growth, especially for the innovative medicines portfolio we are driving, then as well as also increasing our returns by operational excellence. And what is really our foundation, it's our strong people, and there to unleash the power of our people to upscale data science and technology, as well as also building trust with our society. Related to the kingdom, there we signed also one MOU with the Ministry of Saudi Investment. And there we would like to focus on 4 areas. One is transfer of technology, then also clinical research, reimagining our therapeutic categories, that we really focus in the kingdom on the categories and on the disease areas which really makes a difference. for the country, as well as nationalization and building up also the right capability for all the people. There we're working together to co-create cell and gene centers within the kingdom, as well as also in building up a strong pipeline and data for our pharmaceutical innovative portfolio. We are also allocating much more clinical trials, especially for our innovative medicines, here to the kingdom, as well as also helping and supporting different kinds of initiatives to build up all the capabilities. We related to the nationalizations, I already said, and there we have strong development programs for our key talents within our organization. Well, what is also, I believe, here on this slide, well, what I really would like to present also is the social, environmental, economic impact. Because sometimes it's always believed that medicines, it's a cost for the country, but at the end, we are building here up a huge contribution to GDP. If you just see, we are talking about 1 billion, which is the GDP contribution of healthier people within the kingdom. And then you can see also the environmental impact by using energy, wastewater, you have to deduct it. But then also our business activities in engaging also third parties, we are talking additional about 180 million. And then if you deduct the sales from our company, then it remains 1 billion, close to 1 billion. And this is the positive contribution we as a pharmaceutical company are delivering to the kingdom, which means 3 times more than our sales are within the country due to creating health, which is a value for the society here in the kingdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. George. And having a look on how we imagine medicine, especially here in Saudi Arabia. I would like to welcome Dr. Ilyas Salah to also have shed the light on the Amgen activity, especially here in the region. So welcome, Dr. Ilyas.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting Amgen to be part of this important meeting, and congratulations for this really impressive meeting. Let me just present maybe Amgen in few words, and let's start then to maybe initiate discussion about the topic, which is localization, biotech, and other words. Amgen is, I think, is an idea. It was in 1980 when some top researcher from California universities were they were with the business angel and decided to build a new business called biotech at that time. And their vision was to see the biotech will be the future of the pharma. And they built a company called at that time Applied Molecular Genetics, which is Amgen today. And they start by isolating the first epogen, and they built from US and then expansion in the rest of the world from the growth factors, and then they expand their search and research in other area. Amgen as a company, it's a biotech leading company, of course, founded in Thousand Oaks in California in US in 1980. We are delivering more than 26 billion a year in terms of revenue and reinvesting 4 billion every year in the R&D to discover and develop new molecules. We have a presence in more than 100 countries, of course, with important presence in Middle East and Africa, and in particular in the Kingdom. And we have today 25 drugs available in the world, and most of them are registered in the kingdom. Our focus today in terms of development and portfolio, we are, of course, our DNA is from the oncohematology, of course, but we developed as well a portfolio in the bone diseases, in cardiovasculars as well, and in the inflammation and nephrology. After that, we are developing a portfolio and the pipeline of biosimilars only in biologics and in our areas like oncohematology or inflammatory or rare diseases. I will have some, maybe here, just one in 2 minutes presentation regarding the supply chain. I will copy maybe Shakespeare here saying the supply will be or not to be the future of the pharma. Because many countries today are looking to secure their access and medication for their populations. And today they are competing in acceding to the innovations, but the treatment as well. And this will be, I think, one of the most important challenge for the pharma, but also for the countries to develop this, let's see, sovereignty in terms of securing access to their patients. It's one of the top priority for Amgen today to invest in operations and supply chain. Our claim is to say every patient, everywhere, and every time. We invested more than 2 billion the last 5 years in improving our operations and supply. And just a few weeks ago, we announced as well an additional investment of 1 billion to solidify our supply for the future. This is just a report because when I say that we are focusing on that, we are really proud that this is in US, Amgen was ranked on top pharma without any shortage in US for the 5 years from 2011 to 2015, and we continue and we have exactly the same for all the country where we are operating. For us, every patient, every time is very important. This is something we are working on it every day. Of course, this is maybe for the discussion today, how we are securing our supply. Of course, Amgen, you know that biotech, the one manufacturer can supply for all the countries, or because sometimes we are operating with a drug, maybe treating 100 patients. Or, for example, in the cardiovascular, today we are talking about 20,000 patients or 30,000 patients, not more. We are not in a mass market where we can have a manufacturer everywhere, but the most effective way to secure the access is to have the plants of the substance active where we need to supply for the rest of the world. And this is the strategy today of Amgen, is to have a principal site for a drug, and always having a backup site in other sites, different countries sometimes. And even for some ingredients, for example, for some supplier in China, we request them, if they want to be partner of Amgen, to have 2 different sites in case one site have a problem, to be sure that the second site can produce the ingredient. This is exactly our focus and our battle every day to secure the access everywhere. The second one is, of course, investing and being a partner locally with the medical community and the policymakers to be sure that we are looking to the local need and being the facilitator or the tool to improve the outcomes for the patient in the country. Here, I will not detail any of those solutions, but we developed many solutions like PSPs, like for the oncohematology. You know that with the customized medicine, we need more testing now, and we are investing a lot in testing and for testing and identifying the right patients. Also, we are connecting the medical society with the international medical societies to build sometime the excellence centers, for example, for bone here. And this is every day. The idea is yours, it's not our idea. And we are here just to facilitate and to transform the idea into concrete actions. More than welcome to respond to any question if you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ilyas. Mr. Imad will also share a couple of slides about Medtronic and their activities in the region.
Sure, Dr. Mohammed. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And I'd like to start by thanking the committee for this opportunity for Medtronic and our colleagues to share our update, here in Saudi and globally. When I look, at my slides, I'd like to give a short brief on what we do globally and focus a little bit on what we're doing locally in a Saudi setting, for the past years. So starting with the global perspective, right? And we look at Medtronic, and I think most of you know about the acquisition that happened back in 2015, when we acquired Covidian and we became the, the largest medical device company in the world. And with that, our patient pool grew significantly. And today we cover more than 72 patients globally, 72 million patients globally, which is like 2 patients every second, with our diverse portfolio. What I'd really like to focus on here as well, if you look at the number of employees, we do have 90K plus employees that, work for Medtronic. But if you look at the percentage of the scientists and engineers, it's more than 10% of our total population or our total employee pool, which is significant. And when we look at that and we look, on the amount that is spent, last year only on R&D, which is $2.5 billion, it shows, the kind of, company and medical device company and where we, focus our efforts and talents. Beyond patients, beyond people, we don't only focus on technologies, where we also focus on solutions, and we focus on, outcome-based models. So we did acquire in 2015 a company that is, specialized in value-based models and value-based healthcare. And, on the next slide, I'll show you that we already have one proof of concept in a Saudi setting on value-based healthcare, integrated health solutions. Integrated health solutions is also a very big arm for Medtronic to drive services and solutions beyond only technology, and on definitely the PPPs, and we're gonna, talk about that later. But if you look at, the size and scale of the therapeutics that we have, we do cover more than 70 conditions in the human body. We're, we have 4 portfolios. We have the cardiovascular portfolio, which is our breadth and depth, where we started more than 60 years ago. The MedSurge, after, the acquisition of the Covidian company, the neuroscience and diabetes. And when we say beyond, technology and beyond products, we're talking about, consultancy, we're talking about managed services, we're talking about value-added services that, we already have partnerships within the country as well to develop, beyond the product and beyond the technology itself. So if I, focus a bit on our Saudi operation, we've been active in Saudi for more than 30 years, and we have partners in this room that we knew for more than 15 and 20 years. And 10 years back, probably in 2012 or 2013, we decided to go direct in Saudi Arabia. And that happened, in 2015. So it took us 3 years of planning, 3 years of, focusing on delivering that promise. And we did that in 2015 through our partners, Gulf Medical. So it's a JV with Gulf Medical Company. That time we started with 48 employees, and we grew over the years until now today with more than 400 employees with 100 direct operations. So all of our businesses that were through distributors are now with, Medtronic direct. Our overall, to date investment is around 1.7 billion Saudi riyal. And one important piece, when you look at the 407 people that we have, most of them, we have a good Saudization rate with 54, 55%. And for our Saudi talents, it's not only for Saudi. So we're exporting Saudi as talents into the region. So we have Saudi talents leading EMEA regions today, not only Saudi, not only the Gulf. So it's with extended responsibilities. And one important piece as well, in 2018, we converted the Saudi headquarters into a Gulf headquarters. So even beyond, before MISA mandated the localized, the RHQs a couple of years back, we did, start our RHQ, and we actively started in 2018 with having our headquarters in Riyadh overlooking the Gulf region. We're training more than 10K HCPs every year. If you look at our patient base in Saudi alone, we have one patient treated every minute, which is more than 550K patients annually. And you can see here the distribution on the map. We have very good distribution. And the last piece is localization, Dr. Mohammad, and manufacturing. So I think we are the first medical device company that started that in practice. So in 2020, during the pandemic, we started, the first portable ventilator in Saudi Arabia. In 2021, we, upscaled that partnership into the latest generation ICU ventilator in the world, right? So we have our latest generation done by Saudi hands in Saudi Arabia. And we inaugurated, the first vent in December 2022. As a company, we did get, the certified as a great place to work, for, just recently from October 22 to 23, and we did contribute to the Asia, best place to work for Medtronic, and definitely, that would lead to our, certificate on the world's best places to work as well in 2022. We have different programs that we're focusing on, not only on, the technical aspect, but we look at talents. We look at, collaborations like with MISC Foundation. And we have internship programs that, attract talents from different foundations. And for the past, couple of years, we had 60 interns enrolled in our programs with 70% conversion rate, which is, pretty much significant. That's, the inauguration of both devices. The first device, the portable one, was inaugurated back in June 2021, and we had, excellencies, His Excellency Rabia, His Excellency Mohammad Alhamali, His Excellency Abdelelah Rabia as well, and His Excellency Khalid Al-Falih and His Excellency Rumeh as well in the December 2022 inauguration. Beyond products and beyond devices, so we have three programs that are now active. So the IHS, Integrated Health Solutions, Diabetes, which is a true value-based healthcare model that is applied in Al-Ahsab and actively enrolling patients. And our third program that we plan to bring into Saudi is our Curo program for obesity as well. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll also give the spotlight to Engineer Bassett, where we can talk about Boston Scientific and their activities in the field of cardiovascular. If you can brief us, Engineer Bassett, and then we can have a fire chat where we can have questions and discussion, and also the audience are more than happy to participate in this.
Yeah, thank you very much. And as you all know, Boston Scientific has seen the same signals and attractions that the rest of the companies in the sector have seen. Our products and innovations have been in the market for the past 20 years. And with the growth in the Saudi healthcare sector and the growth in the capabilities and capacity within the healthcare system, that forces and suggests the need to localize more of the capabilities and capacity of the company. So beyond the sales and marketing, what do we do about supporting physicians on the ground from a clinical point of view? What do we do from medical affairs point of view? How do we join forces with the public sector to create registries that could tap onto future product innovations and future collaboration? And therefore, The company took this step forward back in 2020. And ever since, we've been growing exponentially. We've been seeing the benefit of such a strategic step that will definitely help in addressing some of the current gaps today in the space of cardiovascular diseases and beyond in the areas where we are specialized at. So that's in a nutshell, in a few words, without slides. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Engineer. Dr. Adel, if you have any questions to the panel.
Well, thank you very much for all the CEOs of our major companies that we are proud of saying that we don't describe ourselves as clients and customers or clients and industry, but we describe our relationship with you as partners. We always say our partners in Amgen, our partners in Novartis, our partners in Medtronic, our partners in Boston Scientific, because this is the way we feel, this is the way we are treated by you as well. We are treated by you as partners, and I think we have a common mission and a common goal. We always talk about the three stakeholders, the community, the healthcare practitioners, and the leadership. So we work together on improving the awareness of the community about cardiovascular diseases, from prevention all the way to advanced therapies. We talk also about healthcare practitioners and how can we improve the healthcare practitioners' awareness and education and knowledge about the different therapies and guidelines and new evidence on subjects. And we also are working together on improving our capability of writing policy briefs. And we had Dr. Abdelaziz Rabia with us in the first day, and one of the initiatives that we want to work on with Dr. Abdelaziz, who is leading the policy and health economics department at the Saudi Health Council, is teaching physicians how to, or thought leaders in the medical field, how to think about policy briefs, because leadership need that kind of language to be spoken with too, in order for them to understand the importance of the subject at hand and move forward with it. My question to all of you is, first of all, I want we were talking about localization, and I think localization is a big term. And we don't mean only localization of the manufacturing itself, but localization of talent, localization of different parts of the supply chain, localization of then the manufacturing, and then localization of the innovation. So from the pharma and from the medical devices. So we'll start with the pharma maybe, and then we will go down the.
So.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dar. I could not have described it better as you, what means really partnership. Because everything starts also with a common value that you trust each other, because with trust, different parties can really sit together and create also a triple win, where patients, healthcare system, as well as also healthcare practitioners can really gain, and then to create value for the entire system. We related to localization and partnership, I think everything comes also with understanding what are the real need. First of all, how to create a system which is financially sustainable, also how to create equity within the country, and also focus on the biggest burdens, because then you can really make a difference within the society. And just talking about ASCVD, I think if I can just say, I have a dream there. And whenever we had also discussions, we were also aligned. I think to dream big, to really create a kind of outcome-based CV care model, where as many patients get also the possibility to get treated. And what does it mean? We have to activate patients. We have to set up common goals where we can also secure how we, as all participants in the healthcare system, can really achieve towards these goals, and we get measured on outcome, and then we drive really something which is really sustainable. And especially in ACVD, I think there's one of the biggest burdens. It's a worldwide killer. It's also here in Saudi Arabia, even 10 years earlier than in the rest of the world.
Thank you.
Yes. For the localization, I think this topic come after the COVID from many states as maybe one of the major topics to see how we can use the sovereignty of the state in accelerating. Of course, as a pharma company, we have this situation. You see, first, we have to guarantee the access to the patient everywhere. How is the plan for us as an affiliate? Yeah, the kingdom is a priority for us, and this is we are always the focus is to be sure that we are securing the access to the patient. At the same time, how we can be an active actor to add value for the country. Of course, there is a localization, having a plant, having manufacture, but honestly, I think it's much more broader, depending probably legacy, heritage, expertise of the companies. We can maybe bring the best of us. For the example of Amgen, as I mentioned, we are investing 4 billion a year in research. This is honestly our focus, because this will help us first to develop talent, to partner with the medical community, and to attract the company investment in the country. And believe me, it's not easy, because we are competing with 200 countries in the world. All are saying that we need to attract the clinical trials. But this is our work every day. Last week, we invited our top management, for example, to see how the infrastructure is developed in the kingdom, how the surgeons are working, and they have the high standard. And this is, I would say, our priority to attract the investment from our company internationally to the country, to build and to attract clinical trials. Because for me, clinical trials has also a big added value for the country from the economic perspective, but also for building talents and securing innovation for the patients. This is how we are seeing things, more, to be honest, than only concentrating on secondary packaging. Let's see. We are really working on this to try to develop more and more clinical trials in the world, in the future.
All right, so Dr. Adel, by the way, can you hear me, guys? Yeah. Okay. For Medtronic, it's a bit different. Okay, so we have that knowledge. We already started. But, we need to ask ourselves. So we have a broad, portfolio. We have commodities. We have high-tech products. So where do we focus our efforts? And what would we do in a Saudi setting? And you said it, Dr. Adel. As part of the Vision 2030 pillars is transfer of knowledge and technology. So if we look at localization as opportunistically, right? So we need to get, the incentives from the country and try to sell more, and it's a win-win situation, okay? It will never be the case. When we look at localization, at least from our perspective, we look at it, from Saudi, not to Saudi, from Saudi to an extended region or to the world. Because, there's no one country that can make it up for a manufacturing plant or a product, production line to be available only for that population. So we need, to understand, are we strategizing well? Are we selecting the right portfolio, the right technology? And we need to answer ourselves. From our perspective, we're still assessing our portfolio. But our criteria is very, very clear. We will not go into commodity items. We'll go into products that would transfer knowledge into the country, like what we did in the ICU ventilators. With the ICU ventilators, you had tons of Saudi talents that went into our facilities in Galway, got trained on our cold systems, brought their experiences home, and now they are running the production, mostly, independently, right? That's fantastic. We need to grow this, but we need to grow this smartly and not opportunistically, right? So that would be my message. And one of the things that, I'd like to add as well on, since we're talking about localization and manufacturing, the country is putting a set of incentives to have, companies like Medtronic, Boston, and everybody here and everybody else to localize in the Saudi setting. But, we need to understand one thing, that we need economies of scale. Economies of scale is a very important pillar. If you want to go and source material for your localized product X, and it's local contract manufacturer with an output of 100,000 units per year want to compete with someone in Tijuana, Mexico, with 10 million output per year. You'll have to go and get from the other one. So we really need to drive those discussions with the governments. And I know, we've had a lot of discussion with the Ministry of Investment, with the Ministry of Industry, and other authorities as well. And everybody's open, but we need to put that in place. So material is a very big bulk of, the strategizing and the decision-making process on where we're going and where we're heading.
So thank you. Engineer Bassam.
This topic in particular is so dear to my heart. The kingdom has started the Vision 2030 back in 2016. And before that, naturally, some of the sectors have been growing organically to localize down the value chain. And under the vision objectives is how to diversify the sources of economies and how to localize more. Healthcare comes into one of the top topics in the agenda, but here healthcare, I'd like to think of it from 2 points of view. So the first one is, and COVID taught us this in a hard way, is what are the products and strategic products that we need to localize from a national healthcare security point of view. And I think this is unnegotiable and it's a fair ask from any country to really look for an immediate collaboration and partnership with the private sector to protect those. And I think in some areas this is very straightforward answer. In some other areas it could be sometimes tricky for some of the industry and products. And the second one is the localization isn't a destination. It's a journey. I mean, we are living all in an era where the innovations and updates are happening in every day, and you cannot really rely on localizing a product that could really phase out the next day. So to me, to answer for the future localization, the best answer would be today and tomorrow localizing of minds and brains and talents. And this really linked to the previous session we were having on genomics and genetics sequencing is how do we think of leveraging what we have from an innovation R&D point of view, not to really localize, but to manufacture ourselves and to really export. So I'd like to think about it as how do I reach to the level where I really do made in Saudi by Saudis? And this is ultimately will be the dream for a country like Saudi Arabia. So when I look at our capabilities today, so we have a decent infrastructure in the R&D, and we have a great movement that is happening there. We are strengthening our regulations and policies around that. We have Saudi Arabian intellectual property now is up and running, and we do have now the Development and Research and Innovation Authority that is up and running, and we do have multiple activities and forums such as this one, where it try to answer for these questions and questions that were not being asked before. And I think many of the people in the room have been in the industry for quite some time to really attest to that. And as we do that movement, there is another clear and important pillar to support the localization, which is the distribution and logistics. So every industry needs the supporting industry to continue to thrive. So I might maybe have not the raw materials and all the sources of manufacturing the basic components of the product, but the supporting industry around that is very crucial. And I think this is another important pillar in the Saudi Vision 2030 that we are answering for. And the third one is, how do we leverage the current database and the current hospital infrastructures, and the physicians and doctors have been studying abroad with their brilliant minds and how to support them really to take that to the next level. And how do we play this all in harmony? This will achieve, in my view, the localization its finest definition.
Thank you very much. If I can summarize, that was great. I learned a lot. So Novartis, they're working on population health. They're working on value-based purchasing. They're working on providing this medication with excellent results and excellent outcomes, not just a medication, not selling a medication, but selling a solution, selling an outcome. Amgen, we're talking about clinical trials, putting Saudi Arabia on the map, and we have had many discussions on phase 3 clinical trials, outcome-based clinical trials, which will be the first in the kingdom if it happens. Unfortunately, the initial discussion got a little bit halted, but we are continuing the discussion. We had a visit from your senior VP on research, global VP, and we had a great discussion with him. So clinical trials, putting the kingdom on the map globally on clinical trials. Imad talked about local manufacturing, how economy of scale, how can we really make local manufacturing attractive by that economy of scale. I don't understand that, but we are ready as a community to help you if you need to convince any decision makers on the importance of having such products manufactured in the kingdom. That takes us to what Engineer Basil was talking about, national security. So the number of patients in the region, or in the Gulf, or in the Middle East, or in the MENA region, or in the wider region as well, that is something that we could provide to leadership. And of course, the importance of an item from the national security point of view. And also Engineer Basil talked about talent, training, development, knowledge, and education of physicians, technicians, technologists, and nurses, nursing staff. You know, a lot of ideas. I could write a white paper from these ideas, and I'll hand it back to Mohammed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adil. That was a beautiful summary. I'll be very careful of the time. I'll jump to the audience. If there is any questions. Can I have a mic?
Maybe it's a comment. Around 85% of the reference genome is actually Anglo-Saxon. So even from a drug discovery perspective, from diagnosis and treatment, we as a region are underrepresented. I've seen the billions and billions of pharma that is putting in R&D. The question is, what percentage of that is in drug discovery in this kingdom and in this region? Unfortunately, a lot of the localization so far in pharma is in, maybe capsule packaging, give or take, but the value chain of the pharma industry is huge. And I think even for the overall benefit of the healthcare system globally, we actually need to even out the reference genome. So the targeted therapy that comes out, the drug discovery research is not kind of lopsided. It's actually more even-handed. So again, I just want to highlight that this is a big area that is needed. Otherwise, this country and this region will always be dependent on just spending in purchasing medicines rather than contributing to actually producing medicine for its own population and beyond. Thanks.
Thank you. That was a very good session, but I would like to echo what Dr. Abdelelah said. I really want to emphasize two things that is achievable and possible, I think, today. And that is every company, each of your company can actually invest in basic research. This is an area which we really need to develop. And this is the way that innovations come. You need to support that. Now, I know a lot of money goes into basic research and nothing comes out of it. But that's part of the process of developing anything, that you have to maybe try 10 things while one of them may work. And I think this is something that is achievable with current resources. Each of your organizations can actually make a commitment that we're going to start a local laboratory. It can start small and grow. The second, of course, and I don't have any problems in making my views public, I would urge the FDA and any regulatory authority to actually mandate that no pharmaceutical product or any product is promoted in the health market if the science used to develop the evidence for that did not actually engage Saudi Arabia. In other words, that you need to involve us in the clinical trials and in the process of developing or achieving or getting the evidence to promote such a product.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shukri. This really goes to how can we encourage healthcare providers that are targeting point of care into innovation and research. I think that's a question. If there is any participant from the panel would like to any strategy, any ideas on how can we enhance the role of research among healthcare providers?
Maybe from my side. So first of all, we just reconfirmed also our commitment to Saudi Arabia to further continue to invest also in clinical trials. I think there is also a big change also in Saudi Arabia to really speed up also the processes of clinical trial approvals, because this was one where Saudi Arabia in the past had some difficulties to compete also with other countries in meeting all the timelines. I think there is a big improvement, and this is also one of the reasons why our organization reconfirmed that we will further continue to invest even more in clinical trials. One thing which is also in general, I think quite important, because there was a lot of discussion about localization, small little molecules. I think we as a pharmaceutical company, and most probably also for my colleagues, we are moving away from small little molecules to produce it. It's more individualized medicines, gene and cell therapy, radioligands, which is a different process. It's not local manufacturing. It's more about knowledge transfer, capability building, to really outreach then also the patients, and in making sure that these new technologies can really properly also used. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think research and development starting with building confidence, and of course, as I said, we and there is many aspects of research and development. And quickly, they know that there is generation is a big component of research as well. But we can like this, and we are building. We are in the long journey. Please keep the pressure on us because this is important to maintain the focus on this because we are. Of course, we are, as I said, competing with many countries in this area. And the most important thing that we want to show that it works in the kingdom. It works. We have a very good experience and we can leverage on that and build and attract more and more advanced clinical trial. This is the only way, the most simple way, I would say, for building capabilities, building talents as well in clinical trials as well in the kingdom. This is really important component if we want to succeed in developing this the clinical trials in general in Saudi.
From a medical device perspective, it's a bit different for us, right? So we're already involved in, good sum of clinical trials. So we have pre-market and we have post-market. In reality, we have a couple of sites in Saudi Arabia involved in pre-market studies, actively, recruiting patients and already enrolled. We have more than 15 post-market studies that are actively, with local hospitals and local patients actively enrolled in those studies as well. So, it's been a journey for us, and we've been doing that. But to Dr. Shukri's point, that's an area that we need to keep focusing on and to keep growing, right? So, like Dr. Adel mentioned, so it's beyond being like a client and a company. It's a partnership. And with that partnership, that means, more commitment, and hopefully we're up to that.
And I really believe with the recent movement and evolution in the healthcare, I think all companies, including us, we just started in 2020 and we have a number of post-market trials already happening in the region. So I think all multinationals are really interested whenever they see a market that is having the right dialogue with the multinational and really eager to support that sophisticated and scientific language. But I think it's a matter of how do we continue to do that. To the question about mandating I don't think it's a matter of mandating anything. If I look at all the different countries and nations who has succeeded in creating an industry, it took them a journey to do that, and there are to me areas where we need to focus as a country that could help in getting the attention of the MNCs. Label free here and logos free. When corporates look at a marketplace, they look at it from an investment point of view. So they look at it, if I put $1 today, what is really the ROI that I'm going to be getting? And this is really the language that corporate understand. And the ROI, if it's not economies of scale, it is ideas generation. And ideas generation could be an investment that is happening in academia, not necessarily in the hospital setting or with the MOH, because eventually, if we look at it on the data, especially in the pharmaceutical sector, for example, most of the innovation is coming from startup and small and medium businesses, not really from the large corporates. And this is what attracts big conglomerates and big multinationals to come in and localize, because they thrive on product innovation and they thrive on ideas generation. So when I look at KSA, I'd like us to be this country in front of the MNCs where naturally they look at us as an investment opportunities, where they come and ask us to invest in the country. And I think we are getting there as a country. The dialogue is changing. The dialogue is enhancing as we grow as a nation, and we grow as a market as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank
What I've
thank you very
noticed.
much. Just a comment about what has been said. For me, what I felt is that there is a lot of appetite from the international multinationals to really come into the Saudi market as and spend on or fund research. The problem is that there are many barriers still. We still have the processes are very slow, IRBs. We don't have good local CROs, the quality of research is still worrisome. We need to work together as industry and as institutes in improving those processes. Having more courses on clinical trials, conducting research with the healthcare practitioners at different levels, and distributing this knowledge and then engaging them into smaller research projects and growing with them. And maybe this is something that we could work with the industry from the Saudi Health Council on different centers, cancer center, the diabetes center from us, from the heart, national heart. We could all work together in improving those processes, improving the knowledge of physicians and healthcare practitioners on the basics of research and improving or speeding up the IRBs, developing, also helping startups develop local CROs. And this is something that probably is a gap in the market. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adel. Just to add, I think one of the things that we noticed in the research at the Ministry of Health, we have a lot of brilliant minds that are working and publishing the research. Unfortunate, the finish line to them is publishing at a high impact journal. I think there is an extra layer, also to the journey, which is research translation, which is benefiting from the research and having either commercializing those research solutions and the outcome of those research. And going back to Dr. Shukri, I think you mentioned a valuable point, which is the Saudi FDA and their also engagement. Now, recently, we see the leadership are enforcing and we're making a lot of changes. That happens after COVID and after the pandemic. A lot of regulation and legislation are being changed and a lot of recommendation. And recently, we've created the sandbox, which is a concept where we have a testing environment for those new emerging technologies and solutions and innovations. And it's a hub for researchers, where we have 13 government and semi-government entities. One of the entities is the Saudi FDA. At the moment, we give a certificate of recognition from the Ministry of Health, but we're working alongside with the Saudi FDA, where those tracks, either an AI, IoT, they get certified at the end of the pilot and proof of concept stage. If there is any questions, I think we took more than the time that was planned. Thank you so much. I would like to thank you, everybody. It was an amazing session. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for participating. This is the last or the last session at the second National Heart Forum. Looking forward to seeing you next year, inshallah. Thank you for our partners that participated with us in the exhibition. Thank you for our experts, our scientific committee, the speakers. Thank you all for attending, and looking forward to meeting you next year, inshallah. Thank you.